Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of the SFCBL's Extra Innings podcast. I'm your host, Owen Kling, and today I'm joined by SFCBL Vice President and owner of the league's Palm Beach Xtreme, Doug Jennings. Doug, happy to have you on. How are you?
I'm good, Owen. How's it going?
Good, good. So I just wanted to take a few minutes here before we get really ramped up with the season starting just in about 70 days now. It seems like it's coming so fast this year rather than others, but it's probably because we're just both so busy headed into this season. So to kind of just discuss this upcoming season, can you take me through some of the league changes and updates, whether it be, from the new image, which we are visibly able to see right now on my background, the new league logo, and any other administrative changes that you think are good to mention?
Yeah, I mean this has been quite the off season actually. For the most part, we've had a lot of changeovers. Some of the things that have happened in the interim has been we've now established a new commissioner, and Nick Presto he's a current scout for the Kansas City Royals. It's been a huge impact for the league in general and generating fan interest and people interest around the community. Um, while I was interim president, we had kind of made some steps towards expanding the league, and we were able to get that done by adding four new teams with owners that have extensive baseball backgrounds, such as Brooks Fordyce, a former major league player who was a current coach or manager up at Kaiser University. We have a couple other guys that are friends of mine that have been involved in the local leagues, whether it's regard to the the travel showcase kind of events. Brandon Cooney and Felipe Suarez and Jorge. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but he's also the head coach down at St. Thomas University down in Miami. So I mean, it's some really neat things that have happened to bring in different areas of the Tri-County area into the league.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the expansion really is going to make an impact on the league, not only just for the fact that there's going to be new faces and new teams in general, but I think the expansion is always going to be a good thing. I don't think that having more teams is ever necessarily an issue unless you have, 50 or something in the league. But I think
Right.
14 is a good number. 10 worked, but I think it's definitely cool to see that expansion. And it's always cool to see new jerseys and stuff. As someone who's on the younger side of things, I know everybody loves the City Connect uniforms from the MLB, and just new teams in general are always exciting. So, stepping a little bit away from the league side of things, let's kind of dive into why you joined the SFCBL in a leadership role as well as owning a team, and what that's meant for you, and then how you have used that position to make other players going through their collegiate time, even potentially into the pro ball leagues, better overall.
Yeah, I mean, it was been back in since 2013. I was approached by both Vince Farfalia and Bill Hansack. Bill Hansack is currently our league compliance officer. He's been involved in the league since the inception of the league. And then, of course, Vince Farfalia is a former president, former commissioner of the league. He's still involved in having his three teams, but I was initially brought in by those guys, and just basically they solicited to me the opportunity to be a part of this years ago, and in doing so, it gave me the opportunity to kind of like extend my platform of instruction, which I'd been involved in for several years already. But with my former major league background, it allowed me to have an impact on more of the upper level players versus the youth league players and some of the high school players. So it was an exciting time in the beginning to bring out the opportunity to participate. And then, of course, as the league has continued to grow, I was asked to be on a board level, basically giving me an administrative capacity. Because of my background, I think there was some input that they felt that was valid for me to be a part of this league, and not only just a ownership capacity, but also as an administrator capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's always important to have some people both from not just the league's teams, but also outside of the league as well. And that's why that board is made up of, mostly people that know what baseball is, but some that aren't necessarily directly tied to the league, so that we are able to make the best decisions possible, both for the teams and the players playing in the league. So
I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I mean, it's like, that being said, I mean, we did expand our board this winter, and in doing so, like you said, we added people that are involved in the legal side of things. We've involved people that are in with regard to the strength and conditioning side of things. We have medical now people involved in our board. So I mean, we're creating a diverse, a look with regard to the league, and in a way that we can give the greatest impact to the players that are coming into the league. And in doing so, now we hope that it will bring more fan interest. It will bring more opportunity for players that come down here to be able to, forward their careers onto either more of an upper level college experience or even into pro ball.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like we're running a major league operation at, not necessarily a minor league level, but we're definitely trying to put the pieces in place so that, our organization stands out, obviously, in the South Florida area and eventually, worldwide. So, kind of piggybacking off of all of that, can you kind of just describe what you're looking for when you are trying to sign players for your team, or what your main goals for the players when they come in to play for the Xtreme are for the summer? Now, obviously, winning games and making it to the SFCBL playoffs is important, but really, what is your focus, say, with a hitter and a pitcher? Kind of describe the
Yeah.
meeting for both of them throughout the summer.
Well, I mean, one of the main objectives is to be able to create opportunity. And some of the guys that come in have had either limited experience, or they've had opportunity, but they're moving towards trying to move to a Division 1 or a Division 2 college, working to another opportunity. Maybe they weren't getting to play as much at their previous college. And so essentially coming into the league, um, for me, as the owner of the Palm Beach Xtreme, and what we try to do is we try to give guys opportunity. We try to communicate with their current coaches. We want to know what their roles are, what the expectations going into the next year's fall program or spring program, to see exactly what their role may be in the future with that particular school. We communicate with the player and to see, what their expectations are for the summer. So as far as, like, say, the pitchers are concerned, I try to, designate a guy as, if he's a starter, we want to keep him as a starter. If he's moving into a long relief role or trying to get more innings, we try to expand on that. Guys that are not getting the opportunity to pitch as much, we want to give them opportunities in different types of roles so that they're able to basically kind of explore where their benefit is to the maximum. And then during the games, we try to put them into scenarios where they can maximize their statistics, because we all know now that with all the analytics and all the statistical analysis that's going on in Major League Baseball and minor league baseball, is that these kids need to have statistics that matter, and not just throw them out there and just say, all right, you're gonna throw your 3 innings today. And then when you go throw and you start to get maybe struggle in one of those innings, they'll just leave you out there to just get buried. And when that happens, the statistics suffer, which inevitably causes the players opportunities to struggle. So, we try to put them in scenarios where they're going to be able to maximize their numbers, increase their experience, try to give them coaching along the way so that they understand what the development process is. Now, with regard to the hitters, I've been teaching hitting for 35 years. So for me on that side, that's where my strength lies. So for me to sit alongside the players before they have an at bat, to discuss an approach, when we do have extra time or we have practices, We get involved in more in mechanics and try to understand a little bit about what players are trying to do, what they're working on, try to expand their skill set with regard to, what type of player they are. Are they a doubles hitter? Are they a home run hitter? Are they try to more of a table setter or a run producer? I mean, we try to get some expansion on the understanding of the game, and that's why my team in general tries to play an excessive amount of games within that, so that we can get guys plenty of opportunity. We try to use it as a platform to set up more of a professional atmosphere, so that they understand what the next level is like, what they want to try to achieve, what their skills are going to need to be to understand how to play the game when it's played a little faster, and then try to prop them up as best we can, so that when a draft rolls around, some of those guys get picked up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, your ability to instruct these players obviously comes from your time both in Major League Baseball and independent baseball, both with the Athletics and the Long Island Ducks. So if you can just kind of dive into those two experiences, maybe talk about the differences between those two, excuse me, those two leagues and how those operate, but kind of just discuss your time with them.
Well, I mean, I started off. I came out of a junior college program and played a few years in the minor leagues, and then got picked up and went to play with the Oakland A's. So with the Oakland A's, it was on the late '80s championship team. So I was involved in multiple championship organizations within the Major League Baseball. So I got to experience being in a World Series, being in a lot of like high intense, high leverage situations. I As a minor league player, I was an everyday player. I batted third or fourth in the lineup primarily. So I was an impact player there. At the major league level, I was primarily used as a left-handed bat off the bench, and had to learn a different role. So all of that being said, it gives me a diverse like look at what a player's role may be like through the course of a season, and what they may be doing for their particular college or pro scenarios going forward. So I can give them some insight of how to approach those different scenarios. Um, I played all over the world. I played in Japan. I played, multiple minor league systems, played in the major leagues with the Cubs, and then finished up my career on the back end playing in Mexico, and then playing also with, like you said, the Long Island Ducks. The Long Island Ducks was a more of a triple A level independent league, which we had a lot of former major leaguers involved in that league at the time that I was there. Now, just in the years recent, they have expanded that league exceptionally down into where they have travel down and even into Texas, where when I was involved, it was more concentrated in the Northeast area. Our team was based out of Central Islip, Long Island. But we would travel up into New Hampshire and as far down into Jersey or into around the Philadelphia area. And so, I mean, it's that the independent ball gives you a lot of perspective. And that was, for me, on the back end of my career, I was, almost, 38, 39, 40 years old, still playing, and understanding, that, that level of play is guys that are trying to hang on, that are learning to maybe to do something and get picked up. That league was noted for having players sign and go back to affiliated ball. We've had a few guys that have gone back recently and back into the major leagues and done really well. So, it's a really neat avenue that wasn't afforded to a lot of the younger players in my era. If you were released out of A ball or double A back in my early part of my years in the late '80s, these independent leagues were little to none and have an impact in the game. So all that being said, there was nothing to be had. So when you were released, you're done. So it's a really nice stepping stone now for guys to get back in the game, to give them opportunity to show themselves. Maybe their organization missed on them. And then our job with the collegiate league for the older players is to try to, if they don't get drafted, we try to help them get involved in an independent league, more of an entry level league like the Frontier League or the Pecos League, something that would give them continual play time to be able to continue to have that opportunity or that dream to get into major league or affiliated ball. And so it's been a really neat experience for me to have the pro side, but now being working with the younger guys in the collegiate realm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, one of the things that a lot of the people now in the league, especially with the expansion, that has is that major league experience, like you're mentioning, with yourself and Brook Fordyce, and some of the other assistant coaches that have had that collegiate experience or even some pro ball experience will really be something that a lot of these players, regardless of the level that they're playing at, can take with them back to their school or even into a new one if they outperform however they did at their current school and may even get, scouted to go on to a different school. So, kind of just going back on what you're talking about with championships, I know that in recent years, the Xtreme have made the playoffs within the SFCBL and have almost reached the top. I can't remember, and you can remind me, the last year that the Xtreme did win the SFCBL championship, but in recent years, you guys have been the runner-up, and I just want to see, is that something that you want to focus on for this upcoming season? Do you want to, necessarily be that championship team, or is it just a matter of really focusing on the player development? And if you guys happen to get there, that's obviously just an added bonus.
Yeah, well, I tell you, it's been a bit of a thorn in our side because We've been we played in the championship game the last 3 consecutive years. Last year being the hardest one because we got beat in the third game with a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth inning of the last game of the series. And so it was a really tough fault series. I mean, the Florida Pokers had gone from worst to first from the previous year and had really done a great job in putting it together. Um, a championship club. We came up a little short again, but the last year we actually won was in 2015.
Oh, wow.
And in that year that we won the championship, we had actually beat the Pompano Beach Clippers, which had been the prolific uh, team within the league for the longest time. And it just happened to be that we had a couple of breaks and we had a couple of players that were completely unexpected step up and we had some unbelievable pitching performances in that series, and we came out on top. So it's always initial goal within any organization is to strive to be the champion, or at the end of the season to be the best team in the league. But with all that being said, that is not our primary focus. I mean, we want to be able to win. I've been part of 8 championship teams within pro ball, so that's kind of runs within my blood, so to speak. I compete on the field to win every game, and I try to strive for the players to compete in every at bat or every pitch, so that they learn that competitive atmosphere. Because realistically, I mean, if you're going to be an athlete in this day and age, that you can't really give in to your opponents, because there's so much competition as far as wanting to get to that next level, and there's so few spots available to these players that when they learn to compete from moment to moment and pitch to pitch, at bat to at bat, that they learn a lot of things that are going to help them not only be exceptional in the game that they're playing, but it end up being kind of life experiences for them to be able to develop as individuals. And that's kind of where maybe I'd like to say that we differentiate ourselves from other organizations and we push that overall kind of agenda to get the players to understand that what you're doing here for the 7 or 8 weeks that you're here matters. You're not coming here to just go to the beach and hang out or just go through the motions and get your reps. That's not what this is about. We're going to compete at a high level. We're going to have expectations to get better. And so I expect that my first speech to every year's team is that, is that I need you to commit those 7 or 8 weeks to me. And if that's not your plan, let me know, and we'll trade you or move you off to another team or just dismiss you from the league. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we have quite the expectations within our organization as far as the competitiveness. Now, when we've lost the last 3 years in the championship round, um, every year the you can see when in photographs of years past the connectivity of the players that are there and how much they love each other, how much they've pulled for each other, how much they've developed as individuals and as a team, not only from the baseball side but from the human side. And so it's really neat to see that. And then our coaching staff with regard to that, and we typically have the same speech at the end of these years. And even though we've lost, we're not out there berating the players and being upset about it. We really focus on the fact that, it's been a great season. We learned a lot, we achieved a lot, and now it's time for you guys to move forward from the experience that you had here, and then have that translate into your college experience or your pro ball experience to be able to continue to forward your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of speaking about winning championships, you got to have a championship staff. Most people say, obviously, you're just trying to together a staff that is going to do the best thing for the kids in this case, and also be, mentors. So if you can just dive into the staff that you're going to have this year for the Xtreme, doesn't have to be too long. Just want to get an idea of who's going to be coaching the team and what, you're looking forward out of that staff, looking forward to get out of that staff.
Yeah, I mean, like right now we haven't solidified every position of our staff yet, but typically, I'll be involved as and I wouldn't say I'm the head coach, but I'm one of the coaches. I'm considered the hitting coach, and I'm an on-field coach if necessary. We have a coach, Jose Zabala, who played at Florida State in years past. He's one of the local coaches here. And then we have a kid that played in the league prior. His name is Sean Lawler, we're expecting to be one of our coaches. He had gone on and played independent ball, and I think he's coaching at a D3 college now up in the Ohio area. There's another kid that has played for me. His name was Bruce Martin Jr., who played at Stetson and went on to play some independent ball, and he's real strong on the fielding side. We have a coach named Max Bowling, who had played some minor league ball, he had played college ball as a pitcher, and then he went on to play a little bit of, I think, independent ball as well. And he was a coach for a while with the three-time national champion Stoneman Douglas High School in the area here. And so he brings a lot of experience. He's now the current head coach at Coral Springs Charter High School, and so he's moved on from Stoneman Douglas, but he's a really nice impact guy to have around. Our typical head coach for the last couple of years has been a guy named Jack Steinberg, who he's not involved directly in baseball now, but he did play college ball, and he's a business owner. So he brings a lot of really positive perspective to the players, and so we have a lot of diverse, and diversity in our staff that allows us to be able to give good input to the players and help them forward their careers.
Yeah, that's great. I think that, anybody is going to be happy to play for your team, or lucky, I should say, to play for your team, just knowing that the experience that they can get through knowledge from, your staff. Mostly, obviously, as a hitter, they're going to be able to relate to you a little bit more, since I'm pretty sure you didn't pitch in your pro days. So,
Yeah.
but hey, that doesn't mean you don't know anything about pitching, of course. So, just having a good, mentorship type staff will be great um, for your players. So just to kind of start wrapping things up here, Doug, I usually end these podcast episodes with some quick hitting questions that are more relaxed and less serious so that you can
Okay.
relax now. So the first one I usually ask is your favorite baseball movie and why? And so we'll go ahead and start with that.
I'll probably say one of my favorite movies, I would say, is probably The Natural. I have actually quite a few, but The Natural is a really neat movie. It's with Robert Redford and set in the more in the early years of baseball.
Mhm.
But couple things that relate to that movie that happened to me in years past was I got a chance to meet some of the staff. They did a reenactment of that last scene where Robert Redford hit the home run, And so we were in Buffalo, New York. I was playing in AAA there, and they did a reenactment of that last scene as part of our pregame stuff. And so it was really neat to get to meet some of the actors in the show, and to be a part of that. And as a minor league guy coming up through the Angel organization, we stayed in like these really kind of not so great hotels, and we had the days were long and tough. And but one thing you remember is like every night after our mealtime, they would have like the movies that would be put on so that the guys wouldn't have to try to find something to do. They could just go in and sit and watch a movie. Well, I probably watched that movie, The Natural, probably 1,000 times over the 3.5 years in the minor leagues that I was with the Angels. And so, I mean, you see that show over and over, and it can almost, remember all the scenes that were going on at the time. And so that in and of itself was probably one of the biggest ones. And of course, in 1988, in the when I was with the Oakland A's and we were playing the LA Dodgers, in the first game of that World Series, we were of course in Hollywood or in LA,
Mhm.
and Kurt Gibson comes up to the plate. And I'd seen the movie The Natural for so many times, and that reenactment of that last scene so many times, and I got chills as he started to approach home plate, and just how surreal that was, because it was the bottom of the ninth inning. We were winning by a run. We had just had a weird scenario where Dennis Eckersley had walked somebody and had gotten on base, and then of course Kurt Gibson had not come up to the plate at all in that series, and because he had been injured, so he was hobbling up to the plate, and then with a 3-2 count, hits a walk-off home run to win that game. And everybody was completely in shock. But for me, having watched that movie so many times and being in LA, it just like it was almost seemed like it was predestined to happen. And it was a really surreal moment just in my own baseball career.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's pretty cool that you have that story to tie to it, even though it went against your team. It's just
Right.
interesting. Life worked out that way. So one more quick question for you, since we are kind of running low here on time. I just want to see who you think is going to be one of the top pitchers and hitters this season as we near opening day for the 2024 season in the MLB.
Well, speaking in the MLB or in
Yes,
the league?
MLB for now, but you can certainly mention some players for the league, of course.
Um, I mean, I wouldn't know too many guys that are coming in from the league in general, but from my team, and I expect we have a kid, Ethan Bates, I think is coming back. He plays at Grambling. He was the minor league player of the year, or not minor league player of the year. He was the South Florida Collegiate reliever of the year 2 years in a row, and he has reached out and is coming back for a last hurrah and try to get into the minor league ball. I would expect when he comes back, we're going to have quite an impact. We have Kobe Benson, who will come back. He's been part of those last two championship runs, and he's really pushing to help us win a championship here. I know he's excited about coming back, and he's been doing great at his college, and he's moving on to a 4-year school next year. But as far as major league stuff, I mean, it's so hard, to say. I mean, you got to think that, that I would think Shohei Ohtani is going to have a huge year offensively, since he's not going to be pitching. He's going to have the year off pitching, so that he's going to be really dialed in offensively. Him moving into the Dodgers lineup is going to be a big plus for them, and I would expect to see them either in the playoffs or not in the World Series this year. As far as pitching is concerned, I mean, who knows? There's so many good major league pitchers now, and there's so many good young arms that are coming in, and sometimes it's almost who's going to throw the hardest this year instead of who's going to be actually the best pitcher. I mean, you got guys that are throwing in 100, 103, 104 miles an hour. When Aroldis Chapman was the guy that was like noted for being such a hard thrower, and now he's just kind of off on the wayside. And there's 2 or 3 other guys that are throwing just as hard as he did a few years ago.
Right, for sure. Well, I really appreciate your perspective both on some aspects of the league and Major League Baseball along with your career, Doug. Really good to talk with you, and hopefully this season is one where the Xtreme get over that hump in the championship game. But again, like you said, at the end of the day, it's more about making sure that those players get the reps that they need and hopefully are able to advance their careers going into their next collegiate season. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today on this episode of the podcast. We will be obviously talking to you again, hopefully rather soon, but not too soon, about the upcoming season when we get closer to around May. And then obviously June 1st is just right around the corner. So,
Yeah. Well, Owen, thanks a lot. This is a great thing. I enjoy the podcast and it's exciting to have, this promotion for the league and going out and you should be noted, that, you've done a great job. I think we want to make sure that, as a league administrator and the things that you've done and put together is well noted and the players and the administrations will benefit from your opportunity and your diligence and making these things happen for the league. So
I
thanks a lot.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. So that's going to wrap up episode 4 of the SSCBL's Extra Innings podcast with Palm Beach Extreme owner and SSCBL Vice President Doug Jennings. And we will see you all next time.